So you use Studio One, or you're thinking about getting Studio One and you're not sure how to produce or if it's good for producing? Well, you've come to the right place. I'm going to show you how to produce a song from the ground up using only Studio One and Studio One plugins. This will be a multi-part series. I'm going to break each video into like drums and chords and bass and all those various parts, so it's fairly in depth, and it should be fantastic if you're new to Studio One, or maybe even if you've used Studio One before. There should be some tips and tricks that will help. My name is Nick Rollo. I'm a producer and mixing engineer from Australia. Welcome to the channel. If you find this helpful, hit like and hit subscribe. Go on, do it. You might as well. It's not going to hurt you. You can unsubscribe at any point. This may at some point turn into like a course. I'm not sure. Maybe I can go more in depth at some point. Like this will be like medium level depth, like I'll go as deep as I can inside a YouTube video without making them 100 minutes each. If you would like a kind of more in-depth course with the kind of variations, maybe not just Studio One plugins, comment below because I'd love to know how to help you. I've been really scratching my head on how to serve my audience better, and I think this series will be helpful, so let me know. All right, let's stop talking and jump over to Studio One. To be honest, there's so many different ways that you can start a song. You can start with vocals, you can start with drums, you can start with bass, a melody, chords, a sound. You can start a song however you want to start it. For this case, for whatever reason, I'm feeling like starting with drums, so consider that the starting point. This is how to make drums in Studio One. So we'll click this new button once you pull up Studio One. Record and mix is where I always start. Producing a song in Studio One. I run on 48 kilohertz as a sample rate. That's just what I do. I think it sounds better. And click OK. I've got some preset on. I like the dark mode and the purple tint looks nice. So I'm going to click Browse, and you might be on the home screen up here. So just navigate over to Instruments, and there'll be this little PreSonus tab. So Impact XT is what I'm going to be using for drums. It's a sampler, or it's a drum sampler. You can change how it looks by clicking this button, which is kind of fun. When you install Studio One, you'll have the option to download a bunch of different plugins and sample libraries and kits. So that's what I've got here. I've just got a bunch of kits, and they all sound pretty cool. I don't tend to use them too much because I have like my own sample libraries. However, for this video, I will be using them. So I don't know, try the classic two-step. That sounds pretty nice. I like to have this inspector up, the eye here. Again, that's just how I like to have my screen set up. So tempo's down here. Let's do 100 for no apparent reason. Cool. I like to start on bar 2 because if you start a song and you export it and it's got no time in front of it, sometimes you get clicking and clipping. So that's a good best practice. So then when you export, you can export about here. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's get back onto it. So I like to operate in patterns for drums. So if you go Command-Shift-P on a Mac, you'll get a pattern file, and I'm going to do 4 bars and then press P, which begins a loop. I'm pretty sure that's a stock standard keyboard shortcut, but basically you can also just drag up here. P is easier for me. And you'll be greeted with this lovely setup. Again, I like to click I here. So I have this stuff here so you can have different variations. I also like to click this button down here to go automation lanes. Basically so I can write different like velocity and whatnot in. And yeah. That was loud. But those are all the sounds, and we have a step sequencer. So we've got 4 bars, 16 beats. So this is 4 bars. Actually, no, this is 4 counts, not 4 bars. So pretty much all you need to do is just tap things in. If you do 2 bars and you press D, it can duplicate, which can be quick, as you hear. That's every count. So you want, generally speaking, snares to be on 5 and 13, so on 2 and 4 on the 1, 2, 3, 4 scale, and then place your kicks where you like. I'm gonna do something like this. Feels pretty good. Sometimes I like to click on kick and change the steps to 32, so doubling it, so I can have a bit more variation in my kick pattern. I'm going to press, whilst highlighted on kick, I'm going to press D. So it duplicates. And then over here, I'm going to add another kick. And down here, I'm going to change the velocity. So this is going to give it the expression and feel as if it was played by a real drummer. So that feels alright. I think for this double kick over here, what I'd like is a bit of swing. So it has that kind of, it kind of has that swagger to it, which it currently does not. So I'm going to introduce a bit of swing by just dragging this up to, I don't know, 50%. That's a bit too much. Maybe let's go to 30. That feels pretty good. Next, I'm gonna add in a hat. And it's important, as I said, to dial in the velocity. If you keep the hat all at the same velocity, it's a bit grating. So what I would do is typically drop this quite low. Maybe that's too much. Maybe you want to bring it up a little bit. Having a bit of random variation in these is good because it makes it feel human. That feels good. So we click on the mix window to bring this up, and it's good to label things. So I'm just going to go kick, snare, hat. Just turn down the hat so it's less crazy loud. So what you will notice with Impact XT, this does not always happen with plugins. Sometimes you have to manually route these things. If you're making your own Impact like preset, you'll have to route it yourself. I've got a video on that. If I remember, I'll put it up here on how to do that. Basically, some of these have already been routed for you. So the kick to 1, snare to 2, hat to 3, which means that when they play, they'll be popping up on these individual channels, which is really helpful. Okay, that's feeling all right. Let's add some like percussive bits just to add a bit of flavor. Don't love that. Okay, can't like that. So 4 and 5 here are kind of not being used too much. So I'm going to jump back to Impact. And basically what I did there is I just routed, I saw that I was using hat 3, perk 2, and snare 2. And I wanted to just put them all on different channels that I could use. So now when we jump back to this view, I can see these 3 are now being used. This is a lot louder than it should be. Turn this down. Feels pretty good. A nice little tip is if you just click and hold and then drag to the right with an impact channel, it'll highlight everything. And I'm just going to turn it all down a little bit. Cool, that feels pretty good. I think the last thing I'll do with this particular pattern is I might go left and I might go right. So that's the panning. So now those 2 bits are just going to be on your headphones. But I'm actually going to do it the other way around. I don't know why, I just like to have the first hit on the left side. Just makes sense. Looks weird here though. So that's a good starting point. That's definitely somewhere we can work off. when I'm creating a song, what I would tend to do is I'll come up with a loop like that, and then I would duplicate it and just sort of, I'll make it everywhere first, and then I'll go in and dial things in and change stuff for verses and for choruses. But I like to just have a starting point. So to do that, I'll just click on the pattern file and press D. You can just do that as much as you like. And it'll continue playing. The last thing I'll say in this video is this variation. Let's just call this like the verse beat, I guess. So the pattern is now the verse beat. If you click this duplicate or either plus for a new variation, I would tend to do just the duplicate variation. So we have all of this as a building point. So now this is variation 1, chorus beat. Just be careful that you're actually editing this. Sometimes it will go to the next pattern and it'll just revert to like this one, so you can edit the wrong thing, if that makes any sense. But just sometimes just coloring it is nice. So we'll stay on the chorus beat, and maybe I want to get rid of these hi-hats and put extra hi-hats in and do this. And add in a few more kicks. It's a bit chaotic, but let's roll with it for now. So that is our chorus beat, which maybe we'll just throw a bit later in the song. That is the beginning of drums for producing a song in Studio One. If you found this helpful, hit like, hit subscribe, and either continue on to the next video or keep your eyes peeled for when that comes out, which is probably going to be tomorrow. There's 2 things in my description that I'd like to make you aware of. The first is a link to my store, which has a bunch of free Studio One stuff like presets, templates, those kind of things, all completely free. You just need to navigate over there and you can download them. You can pay as much as you'd like if you'd like to donate, but they are free, so that will be helpful. The second is if you are in need of a producer or a mixing engineer, I do those things. There is a link to my website and my email, and you can hit me up. I'd love to work on new stuff, so if that sounds exciting to you, let's work together. All right, see you next video.